Greetings and welcome to the Quantum Ogre cast. Today's guest needs no introduction, but he's going to get one anyway. It's Hankerin Fernale, it's Ingrid Bernal, it's Brandish Gilham. You know him, the one, the only Runehammer. How we doing, Hankerin?
Hey, what's up, my man? Good to be hanging out with you once again.
Yeah, good to see you. Good to have you on the podcast. We've been saying this for a while, but I was on yours a while ago. Now you're on mine, so the circle is complete.
Yes. One more and it'll be the trifecta of friendship.
Well, I'm so excited to have you on here. Your games have been a huge influence on me, everything from Index Card RPG to Crown and Skull. And I just think that you are such a huge proponent to the tabletop role playing game scene. And if you haven't checked out Runehammer's games, go check them out right now because they will blow your mind and change the way you game master. So, how's that for an intro?
Yeah, I hope that's all real.
Oh, absolutely. 100% genuine. Yeah.
Sick. Thank you.
Reading like the encounter stuff from Index Card RPG made me go, oh, yeah, okay. This is how you can approach it, like from a challenge perspective, a storytelling perspective, really thinking about how your players are going to interact with an encounter and not the other way around. So,
I like
all
it.
right, now that I've tooted your horn enough, let's get into it. I'd like to start things off with what I'm now going to call the Quantum Ogre Quest. So this is a new format. We're trying something out different today. So stick with me. We're going to have your Quantum Ogre Quest, and this is your real life answers, not a character you've played, but how you, Hankerin, would deal with these situations. So
I am the Quantum Ogre.
You're a player in the Quantum Ogre's dungeon.
But I'm me.
Yes.
Oh,
so you ready for this? You put on the VR headset and it puts you into Dungeon World. So here we go. All right. You, Hankerin, are forced to enter the depths of a dark dungeon. And, oops, you touched a magic orb and your alignment shifts 1 degree. What's your new alignment?
Oof. Well, I guess it would go. So does it shift on the chaotic axis or on the morality axis?
Dealer's choice.
Yeah. Well, I guess normally I'm lawful good. So when I touch the orb, it would have to change me to lawful evil.
Finally, we get a lawful evil. All right. But wait. You glimpse your reflection in the orb, and it wasn't just your alignment. You're no longer human. What creature stares back at you?
And this is supposed to reflect. Okay. Wow. I've got to go frog folk. Ribbit.
Frog folk.
Frog
yes.
I
love it. Yep. Oh, that's such a good answer. Yeah,
lawful evil frogkin.
I've been jamming on some Crown and Skull, and I got to say, the flavor of your frog folk in there is just next level. I love it. It's you made me like frog folk, so congrats.
Yes. Then my work is done here. Thanks for letting me on the podcast. Oh, wait.
Next guest. Okay, so before you can get your bearings, an ooze attacks, chasing you to a room. But there's a weapon rack with only one item left. What is it?
Well, normally I would be a big katana guy, but lately I've been on a weird kick, and I'm going to take the I guess what you'd call a war stave. So it's like an 8-foot extra thick staff with like metal end caps.
Yes.
It's almost like a fence post.
Is it? So I just started watching Berserk, and he fights this guy with one of those.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking of.
Yeah, it's got metal caps and rings on it, so you can fight bladed weapons with it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Excellent answer. Excellent choice. You slay the ooze and gain 10 XP, leveling up. Time to increase one of your real life stats by 2 points. What do you increase?
Oh my gosh. It's got to be Dex. I'm already maxed out on con. I have no Dex whatsoever. You know, there's a frog in Daggerheart who has a prosthetic flipper.
Ooh.
That's my man right there. I feel
Ah,
seen. I feel seen. So
man.
I want to get rid of the prosthetic Dex penalty with my new shiny bonus and my 10 XP,
That's
bringing me
awesome.
to plus 0,
Hey,
which
you
is
know
better
what?
than the penalty.
You're rolling flat at that point, and that's all you
I'm
can
rolling
ask for.
flat, baby.
Yeah. Oh man, I wonder if that's a nod because one of your main guys from Crown Skull has a prosthetic frog, right?
Oh yeah, I'm hiding prosthetic people all over the place.
Oh man, no, yeah, maybe it's a little nod to you. Who knows? Maybe they know you're fans of Daggerheart, so they threw it in there.
Right.
Okay, the creature's body on the creature's body is a wand capable of casting a single cantrip once a day. What cantrip is it?
Ooze covered wand. Um. Well, what has been the hot stuff? What fits my new lawful evil character? I'd have to. Is minor illusion a cantrip?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna have to go with minor illusion because my two kids groups have been bringing the heat when it comes to minor illusion, expanding my consciousness of what's possible. So I find a wand of minor illusion.
Isn't that one of those spells too that like you can really pull off some shenanigans if you sit there and
Oh
think about it?
man, if you
The
pull hard enough on
ability,
that lawnmower, baby, you are going to be going.
yeah, yeah. I once had a player say, like he was like, my character saw the map, right? So I could just create the map over and over, and everyone can see exactly where we are. And I was like, yeah, yeah. I don't
Like,
know why not. Just keeps making the map appear. Just you are here at every cross section. I was
but
like,
one player
that's
keeps making the save, so they're like, "You guys, that's not a map.
I roll
Totally
to
illusory. We
disbelieve.
don't know what the map actually looks like anymore. He's been conjuring this from memory."
I love it. Yep. Yeah. I roll to disbelieve.
Yeah,
Okay.
exactly.
You find the exit of the dungeon. The stone door parts and reveals a dais lit by the glow of verdant flames. There,
Mm.
sitting upon the stone door, or rather, there, sitting upon the throne, is your arch nemesis, who awaits at the end of the dungeon.
My arch nemesis. Oh no.
Getting deep here on the Quantum Ogre cast.
And this the arch nemesis of me?
Yeah, it could also be like the dentist. you know?
No, that's too real.
Yeah.
Um, arch nemesis. It's got to be somebody fun. It's Rick the barber.
Rick the barber.
Yeah, because we got these cool new lights that go over our street here in front of the shop. He's been trolling the neighborhood by turning them on like flashing blue and green and red. It's super obnoxious, but they can be just like, normal looking lights, but he's got the remote and nobody knows why he got it. Like there's like 20
Yeah.
businesses on this block, but he has the remote. He's trolling us all. Rick the barber, the day of reckoning has come. I want the remote.
There's no truer evil in life than that of the benign. It's the small things that really get to us.
Yeah, and we're in the middle of a heat wave, and you got like this Christmas display going, bro. I want the remote. You are my nemesis for this scene.
Get those lights out of here. All right. Last question. Well done, Hankerin. You have completed your quest and returned to the village. What is the first thing you do after arriving?
I will reach out, and as the village celebrates my return, I'll say, "Shh, quiet, silence, everyone. Before you celebrate, please look up." And then I will switch the village lights to a normal freaking color, like a yellowish color. not blink, and a great cheer will come from the entire village because the torment of Christmas blinking is now over.
And there was much rejoicing. Awesome. Well, that is your Quantum Quest. Thanks for bearing with my silly little intro here,
I
but
think I did it.
you completed it. You slay the Quantum Ogre, you get home, you turn off the lights, and like every adventurer needs after their quest, you get a long rest. So,
Ah,
congrats.
perfect. In my little lily pad bed.
That's right, you're a frog folk now. Awesome. Well, I'm so excited for this episode. So glad to have you. And let's get into some fun TTRPG topics.
Yeah. We
Well,
started riff-raffing about like sort of the crazy differences of the in-person social experiment versus, well, which also you were talking about with some of your interviews for your pod, where you're getting exploring the antipodes of sort of relationships with people you don't know,
yeah.
and for better and worse. And then I was kind of like, oh my god, dude, yes, like that's my life every day, is meeting, kind of coming in cold with people and trying to make a little bit of an assessment, and then also if they're going to fit into the sort of the family or whatever, like try to pull them. If it's clear that they are not into it, and to try to gently guide them on into the ocean a little bit, not in a bad way, but you know what I mean? Like
Oh, yeah.
we yeah,
You get all sorts. I mean,
yeah,
yeah, it's interesting with a con too, because I just ran 4 games online, and you never know what level people are at, what their vibe is going to be, so to speak. And yeah, I mean, I'm sure with a store, it's even like 100 times that, because then you're dealing with somebody's literally coming off the street, and like you don't even
yeah,
know if they've ever played role playing games. You don't know if they're gonna walk in and be excited or just kind of start scratching their head and be like,
yeah.
what
And
is
it's
this? What?
it's definitely both, and it is kind of like, it's kind of like a con every day.
Yeah,
I mean, that's why, online I'm a little bit known for being like, I don't really like cons, but that's kind of one of the reasons that I put myself into a perpetual open social situation, is because I may not like cons, but don't get me wrong. Like, I love meeting people, and I like even sometimes like experimenting with playing people that I've just met. Even that can be an aspect. So it's not like these different individual aspects. I'm like, I can't stand large groups of humans. It's just not quite like that. It's more that it's more just about details. And like
yeah,
I think the reason I put all this insane effort into this and continue to, it's like an ongoing project. It's never really done. It's just because I do like that stuff. I do like meeting someone, finding out they're like not just a sort of a, like, here's an example. It's like with Warhammer. Warhammer is 99% enthusiasm and 1% playing Warhammer. And that is not a critique. That is
yeah,
just
yeah.
a statement of reality. This is not a critique at all, because the enthusiasm part is super fun. I love building and painting armies, learning about rules, talking about cool lore and all this stuff. But to actually get maybe 6 people to just be quiet, get out your army, sit down and go, and like, let's clash, is not as easy as one might think. And the only real venue that I see it really happening is like a con, right?
Yeah.
So we're trying to overcome this hurdle on this far smaller, more intimate, more cozy, kind of more home-like space where you got your own fridge, and there's a mood to it. And we've been going, what, like 8 months now, something like that, 8, 9 months, and we just now are getting that wheel to start to turn. So
Mm.
I think it just shows how, like you said, like that coming in off the street factor, like there's so much social investment
Well,
in
and
hearing
I was
people
gonna
out,
say,
you know?
yeah, yeah, and I was gonna say that there are some, you compared it to a con, but some of the big differences, like, I came out of this store, and it really does have that more intimate feel. Whereas, like at a con, it's like chaos. There's 100 tables, everyone trying to scream over each other. You walk into Runehammer, and you have that secret room in the back, and you got the war game table over there that we played some Trench Crusaders on, and
Yeah.
yeah, it does lack those sort of distractions that can be really hard for D&D kind of games and stuff.
Yeah, and like even late, we've even changed things since you've been here. So now our war table is right by our biggest window, so you get to play like right by the window, kind of like in a restaurant, how you want to sit by the window.
Oh,
It's
that's
like
awesome.
it's really nice to like chill and play Warhammer right by the window with people going by on the sidewalk. Like it's a really fun, weird, different thing. But we were just kind of chopping it up about this whole experience because I think there's a lot of this, no matter what aspect of hobbying you're kind of into, there's some form of this where you're kind of like feeling around in the dark a little bit, like where are the people? Where are my people? Who can chill not just with me, but like kind of with my style. Like,
Mhm.
probably the biggest one is like who's in my town. That's probably
Yeah,
the number one challenge of like who is actually, and then how do you contact them in a non-weird way? And that's true whether you're on YouTube or if you have a store or if you're just a random private individual just trying to start a game. Like you're kind of facing a lot of these same things, and it's crazy. It's like never the same 2 days in a row. It's
yeah,
like every day is different with people. It's just nuts.
yeah. It doesn't matter what level you're at of tabletop role playing games, war games, table dynamics. Finding a fit for a group, that always is a challenge. It
Yeah,
doesn't change with time. It doesn't really. I've had groups that we gelled together for years, and we had a good time no matter what game we were playing. I've had other groups where it fell apart after 3 or 4 games because of, just differences of expectations going into
yeah,
it. And yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be a seasoned D&D veteran who's played 1,000 games, and finding that balance between your style, their style. I think expectations are something that really, it's a topic that I don't think gets enough attention. You know,
hmm
we talk about what we don't want in games all the time, and we forget to talk about what we do want in games, I think.
mm,
And just to be like really upfront at the beginning of a game and say like, everyone loves to talk about session zeros, but like, what are you hoping to see out of this game kind of a thing, to your
yeah,
players, especially if they're people that you have little experience with or just walked in your door, like
yeah,
at the store. I'm sure that's kind of what you're talking about is like every day it's a different animal.
definitely. And trying to suss out the expectations without
Yeah.
being weird about it uh, is really a never ending sort of skill learning experience, at least for me, because you don't really want to just put it right down to the matter at hand, right? You don't want to just be sort of on the nose, I guess is what you'd call it. Like before I decide if I want to get involved with you as a customer and possible co-table player, I would like to suss out your expectations for the like. Oh, it's already so weird, right? So you
Yeah.
kind of have
Yeah.
to like just sort of chill and get into a bit of a conversation and kind of be a little bit vulnerable and kind of open up a little bit and kind of see what happens and not feel bad about the fact that 9 times out of 10 it's not going to stick. It's going to be a little odd, It's not going to be like your instant homie. You know what I mean? And you just got to like roll with that and then kind of like moonwalk out of there. You can't spend then your whole day talking to a person. And you kind of instinctively know like we're not really cut from the same material here, which is totally fine. I got like a million things to do. So I'm going to kind of moonwalk out of here. But there are other people where you can pick up this vibe and it's right there. And you almost have to peel each other apart a little bit. Like you almost
Mm.
have to say, like, okay, you've talked to this person enough. Like, move on. There's all this other stuff you're supposed to be doing. Like, my wife will come over and be like, have you blah 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 yet? And I was like, no, me and Alex were just standing here like chewing the fat, talking about the thousand suns or whatever, and how their Egyptian motif is dumb and hard to paint. Or whatever. You know what I mean? You're just like commiserating. Um, and then that experiment, I think it can be exhausting. I think for people it can be awkward and like you don't know where to begin. And so I think in a lot of cases, which is what I've been, shouting about lately on like Discord and stuff. In a lot of cases, faced with those difficulties, you kind of wind up with your old homies who live 1,000 miles away. You play
Yeah.
online, which is totally understandable. We've all done plenty of playing online. But once I watched that movie we were just talking about, Join or Die, I think it's on Netflix, but
Yeah.
that like really made my mind click of like why, if you do play online, don't make that a surrogate for continuing your search in your area. Like contribute the joy of yourself, your presence, your physical presence to your area where you live. Don't rob them of it by only going online to play because it's hard to find people. Like continue to try to search because this is how like neighborhoods and cities and towns are like made. Is how
Yeah.
people get out and go through this weird awkward process of being like, "Hi, can I be your friend?" Like it's so dumb and so difficult and weird, but if we lose that skill, like we're going to be impoverished as a people without it. Like we got to like look at each other's face and share air. So
Yeah.
I've been really like fired up about that lately.
Yeah, and I was gonna say to your example of like kind of feeling somebody out, trying to figure out like how they're gonna be good in this group and that kind of thing. It's almost the kind of situation where you want to get together and grab like a beer and pizza first before you
Yeah.
ever sit down to play D&D or whatever
Yes.
it is, you know?
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that is the one line version of that big dumb diatribe I just did is like meet people with beer and pizza or with
Yeah.
coffee and a donut since we're in
Yeah.
this kind of like favorite things kind of mindset so that you're not really getting into like this intense exchange. You're just chilling. You're just like, I don't know, you're talking about whatever the hell. You're talking about potholes and bad parking. Like is
Yeah,
what normal people talk about. And then later it can digress into this kind of crazy kind of activity, which is like lasting D&D. And I've learned so much, my man, so much. What an exception our group is. And I feel like more and more grateful for it every day is how rare it is to really have 5 or 6 players that are there 10 minutes early every single
oh man.
week, like
Yeah.
weather or everyone's schedule, everything notwithstanding. Like they overcome all those hurdles, make it a priority week after week after week for years. And as teenagers, I think maybe it was more common, or kids, or like in
Yeah.
college, like if you're living in the dorms, it's definitely like D&D paradise because everybody can make it happen. But I've been feeling so grateful and lucky for the way that props out to you guys if you're weird enough to be watching or listening to this. But you know what I mean? I don't know if have you had that in
Oh
your
yeah.
sphere of late since your upheaval with the storm and everything?
Yeah, no, it's definitely been different. Post Helene, and we had a kid, so that just disrupts everything, for a few years while you're
Like
figuring out
during
how
the
to
storm?
not
Not
during, but
now.
but yeah, yeah, that kind of throws off the schedule for a while. You're trying to figure out life as a parent and running games and like, still trying to be consistent because that's, one of the big key things is how consistent can you make that gaming schedule? Because
Yeah. Yeah,
like you're
man.
saying, if they want to show up 10 minutes early, it needs to be every Monday at 6, that sort
Yep.
of thing. So,
Yep.
yeah, it's been a challenge lately for sure. But I've had those groups for that we met every week for years, and we played whatever goofiness I came up with. We ran Undermountain. We did
Yeah.
the Forge of Fury, and then we
Yeah.
did all the crazy stuff that I just think up off the top of my head in between. And those are some of the best times I have memories of, like playing games with just really close friends that I haven't had as consistently. We've got a new group I'm trying out West Marshes, which
Mhm.
is its own beast.
It
But
is. It's cool on
but it
paper and
also,
hard to do.
yes, that's
Yep.
it. It really is. Because you're widening the net. Like we're saying, all those problems that we're talking about of like finding the right people that you gel with, that sort of thing. It's exponential with a
Yeah.
West Marches group because you're saying like, hey, whoever, come on in, and if you're there, cool. If you're not, cool. We'll play with whoever's there, and then that
Ugh.
just totally changes the dynamics.
Yeah.
So it's hard. It's hard to get it right, especially the more and more people who get involved,
Yeah.
essentially.
With
But
with your homies, what happened with Night Scale in Forge of Fury?
Night Scale. So this is a legendary moment. One of my players, I'll shout him out, Pat, who who is one of my most creative players. Whenever he's awake enough to be creative, he asked me. He said, "So this cave, is there like are there stalactites hanging from the roof and stuff?" And I was like, yeah, yeah, definitely." He's like, "So if I cast a shatter right above where this thing's sleeping, would it send off all the stalactites like huge projectiles?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, let's do it." And that was how it started. It started off with a bang. They didn't even really get a chance to do any diplomacy or anything like that.
I
It was
love it.
just we're rolling rocks against a black dragon now, and I
Perfect.
thought it was going to go south, but we had some smart players, and they handled it. I mean, they took him out. It was impressive because
That's awesome.
they were
They
even a
just
few
they just
levels down.
they killed Night Scale straight up.
Yes, yep.
It's
But
amazing.
I will say that was my first ever campaign I ran, so hopefully I was doing everything by the
You
book.
may have
Who
nerfed
knows?
Night Scale a little bit.
Yeah, I probably
Yeah,
did, honestly.
you may
So,
have nerfed it. Because if you don't
but
nerf it, it's brutal, man. That whole layer is on her side.
you know what?
And
I want to say something about this, actually. This is a great subject. So, I just ran 4 pre-written adventures for an online con, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it and I'm doing the math, and I'm thinking every fight, it's like, this is way too easy. This is way too hard. And
mm,
you're always trying to find that scale, right? That balance to
mm.
say, like, I want everyone to have fun. I'm not taking death off the table. I don't want to, like, go that far to put them on handrails. But, like, you're always kind of assessing, is this a ridiculous challenge? And is it going to be interesting for the players to interact with,
Indeed.
And I think that I'm starting to call this idea game sense because that's what they call it in like video games and stuff. But you reach this point as a game master. I think this is just a skill from experience, where you start to get that game sense when you're just looking at a situation, in a
Mhm.
module or whatever, and you're like, "No, this is off. This needs to be scaled back a little bit. That's too many skeleton minions. That's
That's too
definitely going to
many
be a TPK."
skeletons, bro.
You know what I mean, though? It's something you gotta learn. It's something that
Yeah.
takes time to really figure out because otherwise you're just gonna be wiping parties over, a fight that may not even need to be there because it's just something they wrote on the paper.
It's hard to give you a cool response on that because there's so many possible little scriggly rivulets that can come off there, and they're all diametric to each other. Like,
Mm,
on the one hand, I absolutely love, we call it playing like page to table. If we play off the page, then there's absolutely no shenanigans allowed. The page
mhm,
must be faithfully delivered, or the achievement or the failure of the players will be a sham. So
mm,
we do have those moments, and
yeah.
whether it be a module, a page out of the monster manual, something like that. So there is that aspect. And if anybody listening or watching this hasn't done that, give it a try because it is super thrilling. You are no longer responsible for anything. And this is why it's my first response is like your game sense gone.
Yeah.
Like you get no sense of intuition is allowed on how hard or easy something should be. You're just going
Letter
from
of
the
the law.
page. Yeah, you are, and you're showing the players the text so
Yeah.
that if there's doubt, and that you show them what you're being confronted with as the GM, and like together you commiserate on the cruelty or the ridiculous ease of it all. So there is that one side. Then on the other side, I could not agree more with you, which is like recently we did this thing called the Rubicon, and it was revealed in our world that orcs are not born orcs, that they're all
Mm,
made orcs, and the way that you are made into an orc is that all your weakness is stripped away. And once it's all gone, all that remains is your strength, and you like have these tusks, and it peels away all the sort of, I guess you would call it like pinkness,
The
of the
impurities.
of the gentler species, and
Yeah.
only this dark sort of green and maybe gray colors are left behind, and that's why the orcs look like this, and it's why they're despised by people, because they're people are actually envious of their strength, and this whole diatribe, and it all goes down to basically you have to go to the Rubicon, which is a piece of the warp from 40K. So it's like
Mm.
this glowing green rock, and you have to walk toward it and endure these waves, and the waves show you the ancestral struggle of the orc people for thousands of years, and you have to endure all of this pain and dejection and like racism and torture and like heaps of orc bodies in dungeons. And if you can make it through it, you'll sort of pierce through and your weakness is gone. Okay, there you go. So doing that, I knew that that had to be part of the story. I knew it was coming up, but at the last second, my game sense kicked in. And I thought, because I'm also looking at the clock, I'm looking at how
Yeah.
many beers my players have had, like when pizza time is, and getting all this stuff is game sense, right? And I'm like, okay, this needs to be not only a story moment, it needs to be a game.
Yeah.
And then, so real quick, I created like a distraction, like, everybody go pee or whatever. I have to do this, that, and the other thing. And then I kind of got my mechanics written down really quick and set up some little dice piles in front of the miniatures and basically just invented a little kind of like a backgammon style game.
Hmm.
And that is the Rubicon as you pass through these waves, and it can force you to re-roll your base stats and stuff. Like it's super
Oh, that's
hardcore.
cool. That's cool.
Yeah, but you gain all the abilities and everything from 5.2 for the orc. You set your old species abilities aside and stuff like this. Anyway, that was my insanely detailed version of Game Sense is supreme. Like it
Yeah.
can take something that was just going to be a vignette and it can turn it into a super high stakes live or die sort of dice or even like card game where the gamble of that next draw or that next roll is so mind shatteringly huge that nothing on the page could ever capture it because the page doesn't know about the timing of your session and the one
That's it.
player who's
Yeah.
always got the football at the end and is always winding up being the clutch guy, and so you need to flip that on him, and like the other guy who's always the violent guy, he needs to be put into the support role, and like all these crazy things. And that, I love the word game sense because it's absolutely 100% real.
Yeah. And
But set it aside too.
yeah, yeah. No, I absolutely agree with both those points because there is something about like we beat, the tomb of annihilation. We
Mm,
did it. We as written, no changes. Our GM wasn't, being nice to us.
nice.
We destroyed. I can't remember who was at the end of that one, but no spoilers, I guess.
Acererak.
Oh no, we said a Sirach's name now. It's all over.
There.
But yeah, there is something to that, and I've run that way before. But like you're saying, you know, e- especially whenever you're having one session with someone, right? Like, what's going to stick in their mind that you killed everybody with a few extra skeletons and a lich, or that moment when, yeah, like football ran across with the nuclear bomb in the arm and slam it into Sarak's face and blow up the whole temple while everyone's running out as quick as they can. It's that kind of stuff too, because like I said, I just ran 4 games in a con, and one of them was like Shadow Dark straight up what is it, like a mini dungeon crawl, right? And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the clock and I'm looking at everybody and I'm thinking like, nah, we don't need this fight right before the big fight.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
let's push it forward. This room they walk into, everyone's already dead. They got to figure out what happened and why they're dead, because the more interesting thing is when we get that conclusion to the entire adventure that night.
yeah,
Especially.
yeah. If there's no continuation, ending in a middling encounter, unless you're reading the table, and people love that super low fantasy thing, and that's where they want, like, the end of the Two Towers. They want this weird ass ending. If you're feeling that, then by all means, they die in room 4B, which is an empty storeroom or whatever.
Oh, I've definitely had that too. I ran a mini adventure during COVID, and it was just like a couple of really good friends, and they were like going room by room, and they happened upon a room with these like mind flayers essentially, all like in their pods, and they woke them up, and I was like, guys, you know, I gave them like six warnings. It was like, there's these tentacle monsters laying in pods. They seem to be in stasis, and they're like, we keep pressing the buttons, and they
Yeah,
get them
let's
out.
poke
And
them.
yeah, and I was like, oh, and it was a TPK, and that's how the entire adventure ended. And I was just like, that's how it goes sometimes,
I love it.
that was the consequence of the actions. But and you're right though. Like game sense is this other element too, right? It's not just reading the moment, but it's also reading the room and your players and knowing like what is gonna create a good time for everyone tonight.
Yep.
Is it finishing that adventure, or do these guys really want to die?
Yeah. And I guess there's also a little less interesting, but there's also a nuts and bolts piece to having really good game sense, which is like really knowing your game,
Yeah.
knowing it top to bottom, and how not only to hack it for adjustments or for added dynamics, but how to comfortably announce that stuff to your players. Like, have no secrecy at all, but to not
Mm-hmm.
give things away. Like, to say like, hey, you guys, just quick mental note. I'm gonna add 10 HP on all these wolves because this is kind of dumb. Or like, I got to have at least one of these wolves needs a better armor class. This is kind of crazy. Just like really being, but then it kind of just goes under the rug and the excitement continues. But I've always found real release in just saying my nerfs, or if I need to increase something, or just openly putting it out there, kind of like I do with timers a little bit, where the players openly know about the meta, but I expect their characters not to. And
Yeah.
I can trust my friends well enough that they don't. We have like complete halts in the action quite often, and we just have huge meta discussions. And at the end, it's like, remember, your characters don't get to benefit from any of this discussion we just had. So play accordingly. But I want everybody to feel the same satisfaction I have as the author, because it's awesome.
No,
It's
it is.
cool, you know?
Y- Sorry to interrupt, but yeah, sometimes it is fun to kind of give everyone a peek behind the screen a little bit,
Oh,
like you're
yeah.
saying, and to say like, all right, it was just going to be these couple of, it was going to be one beholder, but because you guys did this right here, see on the page, it's going to be three now. So good luck.
Right. Or I'll leave it up to a roll too. I'll be like, doesn't it feel like this beholder, like some of the lines that he said, it kind of seemed like he was alluding that there was another one. Like, is there another one? And then we'll throw a yes no on that.
Yeah.
That way, everybody's not only visibly seeing my modification, we're all like looking at that roll with intensity of like, uh, you know.
Yeah.
So I love
That
being out in the open like that as your game sense plays and like changes things.
Yeah, and once you get really good at that, like you're saying, I love to roll in the open because it's out of my hands. I get to see what
Yep.
happens, and on top of that, like you're saying, it creates this extra element of intensity for the players. They're looking over too, because if you're behind your screen and you're going, oh, it's a natural 20, and they're like, this is like your fourth one in a row, dude. Come on. But
Even
when
if it
it's like,
really is too.
yeah,
Even
exactly,
if it
yeah,
really is a nat 20 and you don't get to see it, that is one more little piece of currency that you don't get.
yep,
And I have a fun example of that, which was playing with the incomparable Order of the Amber Die. And so we're playing in this fully immersive space. We're playing for days on end, really long days of just being in like a sensory deprivation chamber and playing with insane levels of detail in a sandboxy kind of mode. It just the depth is amazing. But Adam does play with a screen, and understandably so. He's dealing with like 9 players. There's a lot going
Oh wow.
on. I would kind of, I understand why you'd want to have a screen, but at times we're fighting all these lizard guys, and there's all these rolls, and I'm hearing the clickety clack of the rolls, and I can't see anything. And no shade on doing that. It's just there is, like you say, there is one little thrill that you're not getting, which is seeing it. Not that you don't
Yeah.
trust anybody, not that you think you're being fleeced or anything. There's no negativity whatsoever. It's just so fun to see it
Yeah.
just with your own eyes, to see the 5 come out or to see the natural 20, whatever the dice may be. You don't even have a desire. It's just to see it with your own eyes. I think is really powerful.
I
So
I I will give you a great example now. I'm running. Oh, how can I not spoil this? Doom in the Red Wastes. We get to the end. There's a big battle with a lot of moving pieces going on, right? And I had this little imp that joined the team, and he runs over, and I was like, "Well, you guys kind of saved him. He's going to go try to attack this thing for you." And they're all about to die, and I roll it because it's on a VTT. They see the nat 20 go up, and they're
right.
all like, "Oh," and then because of the way his ability worked, ended up paralyzing the main threat for like a round or two, and so they were all like, "We got to get out of here,"
Yeah, yeah.
like this guy just saved our asses.
That's great.
It was just this peak moment where everyone was like cheering at that 20 pop up. They were just like, "Ah."
And the 20
And
may
so,
still be rolled out of
yeah,
view and may still be accurately reported and all that stuff. I give it all to the GM.
yeah,
But seeing it with your own eyes is something really special. Even if you get an accurate report. There's something fun
yes,
about seeing it the second it appears. That's just a big part of why we talk about all this stuff so much, why it's so fun.
yeah. There's an exhilaration, in that moment when it makes it real. It puts something on the line for you. It's like
Yeah.
my character is gonna die if this doesn't go off. That kind of thing,
Yep.
and
Yeah.
then
And
boom,
the reason I asked about night scale to kind of bring our boomerang back into catching distance
yeah,
is that running it for 2 groups, neither of them killed night scale.
mm,
They both had to get their little treasure. We had this kind of magic avocado item, and they had to get that out of there and return it to their village. It was like the thing that kept the village alive and like prosperous and made the crops grow and stuff like that. And so both groups, in different ways, did some funky sort of, selfless teamwork to get the avocado out of there. But only one of the 2 groups even got close
mm.
to doing any significant amount of damage, just because the breath weapon on night scale is so bad. It's so,
Yeah,
so bad.
yeah, and I can't remember. I'm trying to remember. Either my guys were under leveled or over leveled, and either way, they should not have won that fight. But they somehow, you're probably right. Where I probably nerfed him unintentionally, just for being new at game mastering. But
You're like, these stalactites do 124 damage. Oh,
I
so
probably
cool.
did
She's only got
boost it.
7 left.
I had a big group back then too. I had like 6 guys, so it was like, when you're fighting 6 mines by yourself as the game master, your pistons are firing, 100%, and you're like, all right, it's got this and this, and then this, it's this high, and it's man, it just starts, your brain starts to melt in real time.
Totally. And not to be a cheese ball of the moment either, but I'm going to go ahead. Is like, I got to say, of all the solutions I've seen for the thing you described, me versus 6 mines, which is a very, very common problem. I am just over the moon with Daggerheart's solution. Even if you don't want to play
Mm,
Daggerheart, more power to you, man. Rock on, play whatever you like. But the way that fear and hope work and the way that they mix up the initiative is
mhm.
the biggest gift that's ever been given to GMs that isn't just homebrew.
Yeah,
I'm saying, hey guys, guess what? I'm doubling the lair actions for night scale because there's 6 of you. That's something that I might do, right? But with rolling with fear, it's handing you those lair actions. It's handing you the initiative. and it puts all the risk on the players. So you're just like sadistically watching, and it's at least a third, if not half the time
Mm.
that they're handing
Yeah.
it back to you and giving your resources for what would normally be considered like a legendary action or a layer action. So it's such a huge gift to the GM. I mean, Conan 2D20 did it to some extent too with the
Mm.
Doom pool. Um, but I gotta say, this is the ultimate of what I've seen solution for the six minds, because the more players there are, the more chance there is they're going to feed you your what you need, your nitro.
Yeah. Yeah.
So instead of being like, well, even if there were 8 of you, I would still just have my turn and it would be awesome. But dang, like she's going to need like, like one of those dune shields at this pace. Like, can I put a dune shield on this dragon, you guys? But I think Daggerheart really does a great job. Like, just play if you're playing AD&D or whatever, like we did for the last 4 years. Just come up with some resource, call it cruelty. Give yourself 6 cruelty at the beginning of an encounter, and anytime a player rolls like 5 or less, you gain a cruelty and you take the initiative.
Mm.
There you go. You have taken the Daggerheart mechanic and you've stuck it right in AD&D, and now
Yeah,
you will reign supreme.
you just like on the fly homebrewed a better legendary action mechanic than I've seen in most games. That's awesome.
There you
Yeah,
go.
um, you're not wrong. Everything I've seen of Daggerheart and like heard of Daggerheart sounds really fascinating to me, and I think it's one of those games that is going to push the envelope for being inventive with new mechanics and trying out. It just seems like an interesting mix of fresh ideas. And personally, as someone, you are someone who I think has injected fresh ideas into the TTRPG sphere for a long time now, years. And so I think that I am enjoying the sort of advancements we've had with modern games. Like I
Mhm.
love my old school games for sure, and everyone who watches my channel knows this, but like there have also been a lot of great advancements, and I think Daggerheart is going to shake up the game for a bit.
Yeah,
I think people are really going to get to try it and learn some new things from it because I think every system we play teaches us lessons, and I think it's going to be one of those systems that we'll look back and we'll go, they were really trying some crazy stuff, and we'll
yeah,
see what sticks.
yeah, and all good. Just like Dungeon World, which shares a lot of DNA with Daggerheart. There's there are tricks and concepts that far outlast the game itself, and I would even say that's true of AD&D with like the sort of some of the thief rules and like finding secret doors and morale checks and stuff. Like you don't need to play AD&D out of a raggedy box that's held together with tape to get some of the magic that makes AD&D cool. And
Yeah.
likewise, you don't need to play Daggerheart to be contemporary as a thinker and inject some of this great stuff like thresholds that they use for damage in Daggerheart. We were playing that 3 years ago. I even have a blog post about when we were playing thresholds because we got tired of trickle kills. So we wanted to have a threshold at which you did a sort of an injury,
Mm.
which also isn't new, goes back to the 80s, but
Yeah.
there are these reminders that keep coming up. So play whatever it is you're playing, but maybe try thresholds. They're super cool. It's another gift to the GM, by the way. It makes GMing so much cleaner to use damage thresholds. So much cleaner. And it's more like a little bit of a sort of a match 4 for a jackpot kind of
Mm.
mechanic. So instead of like kind of sucking but still doing 2 damage and being like, okay, I guess I'm done. Oh man, it's more like you kind of just didn't deliver, but when you do, like the bells go off a little bit. And
Yeah.
so it makes you want to dig your heels in a little. It has a lot of great effects. But if you're not like into Daggerheart or you don't like that there's like a frog species or whatever, like don't
Does
let
anyone
that.
not like frog
I
species?
don't
I,
know
I
how
feel
that
like
would be, but it just like get out for starters.
I, all I want is my frogman samurai.
Totally. Yep, you get a frog with a backpack and a sword. Like, I mean, Let's go. I'm ready. Let's figure out where this guy came from. But yeah, I don't want to like get into a whole diatribe about Daggerheart. I just think that it really does have some ideas that can extend into the thinking of any GM.
Yeah.
And even if you just get the SRD, you don't have to spend money to benefit from these learnings. Um,
Yeah.
the learnings are there, and these designers, I think, really did a bang up job. There's a lot of like juicy bits that take a while to really dawn on you. Like I would advise against skimming the book once and then making a video. Like
Yeah.
there are some deeper currents in the water that are not easy to see after a skim. Like our game, I can't talk too much shit because our game doesn't start until July 24th because I've got a little vacation coming up. So we're playing our Daggerheart game from July 24th to mid October. That's going to be our Daggerheart digression, and we're going to see how much it's going to stick with our group.
Man, I've fallen into that pit trap too, where I read a game and I get the false idea that I know anything about it, and then you sit down and you play it and you're like, no, this feels different than it looked on paper,
Yeah, yeah,
this is a different experience, and I think it takes running and sometimes running and playing a game a few times to really understand it, before you.
I agree. And writing for it too.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that.
like if you can sit down and write out a few items, or maybe a new spell, or just kind of a quick ability, or a little thing that a monster may have, then you'll very quickly hit roadblocks of comprehension. And this is true with any system. And you're like, wait a minute, how do I list a piece of armor simply again? Okay, I need to flip around the book a little while. And I think sometimes folks get so deeply entrenched in something like D&D that they don't like that discomfort maybe. So they
Yeah.
spin out of it and they're like, or I know there's like dumb political shit, some newer
Yeah.
products that people get themselves all twisted up in a knot about. And I really wish they wouldn't do this, but I can't deny I'm somewhat sadistically happy that they're not enjoying it. You know what I mean? But these are just hindrances to getting some of these cool little learnings that can be applied to any style game, old or new.
Yeah, and that's totally. And that's why I say, like, branch out, try a bunch of systems,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you're gonna learn stuff. You're gonna you're gonna see the gaps in your own style by playing different kinds of games. And that's
absolutely.
why, if anything, I'm excited about like games like Daggerheart, because I think it's gonna take people who have been like really cemented in maybe one style or the other. And I think it's going to open up their minds and they're going to go, oh, this is a better way to do this kind of thing I was doing, like with initiative. Like, that's a classic example. Like I'm just fighting 7 people with one monster and I'm going once. It's
Yeah.
not till you play a game like a Daggerheart or something where you go, okay, there's a good way to shake this up that feels fair, that lets the fight be a little more even, stuff like that. And yeah, I'm an advocate for people trying games and not shaming people for the games they do like. That's a
Yes,
big part.
absolutely. Because they all have such a place. So
Yeah.
there are some weird like toxic subcurrents about telling people what they shouldn't like and stuff. I do not understand it. Or even coming at me like because I have a shop, I'm like not allowed to be enthusiastic about two or three things at the same time because they're apparently in a war for supremacy. You know what I mean? And I'm like, no, actually, I
Well,
like Trench Crusade and I love playing 40K.
yeah.
I, I'm not going to choose my favorite child and throw the other one into the pit. I'm not going to do it. They're both, one is weird looking, maybe, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it's okay to like.
As a parent, I know what you're saying. Yeah.
They're all weird looking, Jordan. They're all,
Yeah. And they only get weirder. Trust me.
they only get weirder from here. So buckle
Yeah.
up.
Well, on that note, Hankerin, I could talk to you all day about role playing games, but I don't want to keep you forever. Um, I'm super stoked to have had you on the show. I was on your show a while back, and now it's awesome to return the favor.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man.
Yeah, yeah, and are there any sort of last thoughts or things coming up that you're excited about that you just want to shout out before we go?
I'm excited to see a little bit of Bob alluded to it in his most recent video, but I'm excited to see a blanket of calm and happiness and return to detail in our hobby at large, both as an in-person activity and an internet activity. They're both part of it, and to
Yeah.
see this sort of I don't know, what do you call it, like choppy, kind of hot takey kind of vortex we've been in for 2 years.
Yeah.
I would like that to get us. Let's get back to, like, trying to figure out how to do like an orange space marine troop. How to homebrew a laser gun into your OSR game. How to put Daggerheart's Initiative into your GURPS Conan campaign. I don't know
Speaking my
what you people.
language.
People are all crazy, by the way. They're all doing crazy things, but I to returning to that is what I'm the most excited about from the seat that I'm in, which I know is somewhat unique, but having opened brick and mortar and everything, kind of trying to meet my city where it's at rather than make it into what I want it to be. I feel that's what's coming.
Yeah.
I feel that's like on the horizon, that we've come through some kind of change, and it could have something to do with often difficult world events or like the world mood or something. But that's where I'm at. I want that to happen.
Return to form, but with some new lessons learned.
Yeah, and basic kind of healing from COVID a little bit too. I know it was a long
Yeah.
ass time ago, but I still feel like the bowling clubs and stuff are gone, so to speak, like that documentary talks about. Like a lot of like the book clubs haven't returned, and like a lot of these kind of get-togethers, like house parties haven't really fully returned, and like we almost like accidentally learned new habits, and they
Yeah.
haven't quite broken up yet. We're still kind of in the clog. So I really would like to see that clog kind of break and everybody start seeing more and more of each other, which I think is already underway.
I agree. Yeah. And I'm gonna have to start an indie RPG scene in my city because
There you
you
are.
know,
You're the guy
there's
for that.
yeah, I apparently I've been bred perfectly for this model, so I guess I have to accept my calling. So,
You got the white
well,
graphics on the black t-shirt. So you're in business. That means you're a role-playing person or death metal head or both.
right, it's a little of both sometimes. Some days it's both. So, well, all right, Hankerin, so glad to have you. Um, yeah, like I said, we could just keep talking all night, but I'm going to sign off here and just say thanks for joining us here on the Quantum Ogre Cast, and we'll see you next time, no matter what choices you make.
Hey, partner. Are you tired of stale fantasy tropes? You're looking for something a little more strange? Come, partake of my fire and allow me to read you a tale from elsewhere. I was there, working the rail yards when the barriers between realities split. When the calamities, they now call it, arrived on our world. When the horrors, nameless and unspeakable, poured forth from its dark depths. Our home was once a beautiful and prosperous land, before the creatures came, before the clockwork. Tales from Elsewhere Clockwork is a post-apocalyptic, Weird West action horror role-playing game. A game where you play as hardy survivors, everyday folk like me attempting to survive the horrors of Elsewhere after the calamity tore apart the barrier between realities, as it does. This game uses a visceral injury system combined with called shots while keeping the math light and the violence high. Character creation is open-ended, where the players pick from over 50 backstory elements that they mix and match to create their unique survivor. You could be a preacher who was raised among the Church of Ashes, who's on the hunt for men that left him for dead. Or maybe you're a prospector from a small business, a once city slicker that got chased out of town. The combinations are endless. The game features narrative-heavy threats and monsters, with rich folklore and mysterious origins inspired by real fears and anxieties of 19th century peoples like myself. For instance, the Kentucky Sawbones is a manifestation of my fear of amputation, while the Blood Oiler evoke the dehumanization and unstoppable nature of the Industrial Revolution. The game is the brainchild of a personal friend of mine and fellow dungeon tuber, Peter, of Tales from Elsewhere, a channel where you can find insightful evidence into the philosophies behind game design, such as the one that probably went into this game right here. The Kickstarter goes live September 2nd, and buddy, that is a train you don't want to miss. But the pre-launch is happening right now. So go over there right now, click to stay informed, or else I'm going to have to skin this smoke wagon. And buddy, you don't want to see that. Sign up now, pages are live, now back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Running through a dungeon, you come across the junction. You gotta go left or right. It doesn't matter what you choose, 'cause either way you lose. There's a Quantum Ogre just out of sight. And now it's coming to a head, the very thing you dread. You get ready for the coming fight. Your spells are waning fast, you hit them with your blast. It's the last flickering light. Quantum Ogre cast, Quantum Ogre cast, Quantum Ogre cast, Quantum Ogre cast.